Hello, everyone. Good
Wonderful.
afternoon.
Good
So I'm
afternoon.
so glad to be able to see all of our supporters here with us. And it's really a great warming of my heart. And we are all grateful, Proyecto Faro, to be able to be here with all of you as funders, partners, and friends, and for taking the time to be able to join. So some of our work has been really challenging, not to say all of our work, but because the part of our work is being with you. So that's heartwarming, but the rest of it has been very challenging because we're living in critical times for the immigrant community. As we all know, these times have brought in terror, disenfranchising of the community, and really a dangerous time for families. And these challenges have varied from raids that started with about 8 a month during the month of February. And then we went up to 32 this past month. So you could only imagine how terrified the community has been and how dysfunctional the families have become because of what they have to do throughout the day, if not just dealing with the challenges of being ripped apart from their children or from their communities. So today's purpose is to highlight what's happening here in Rockland, which is part of that. And among other things, we have been seeing raids, unlawful arrests. We are seeing people being detained for complying with their court orders. We seen just yesterday or the day before yesterday, a person that had asked to be able to go ahead and do a court hearing through the phone because she had been mandated to do bed rest. She lost the baby as of Sunday because she was obligated to go to the city to be present with her children. So you could just imagine that going with 3 other children on the bus, train, and you name it. And that's on top of the terror that the families experience because of it, including her children. And these are minor children. 2 of them are school age. So today we have a great potential with all of you here, for all of you funders to be able to see how beneficial it is to invest in the immigrant community because it has a great impact on all of us. If one member of your community is not safe, it impacts everyone. Therefore, it behooves all of us to put our heads together and also our resources together to be able to support the community. So here in Proyecto Faro, we hope that every one of you will be able to continue to stay throughout in these challenging times. So we invite you to that may need to come to our aid. So with that, I want to be able to welcome Hello Gabriel so we could hear from our great partners. So you're welcome. See, Gabriela?
Thank you all so much for the incredible work that you're doing in Rockland County. I also want to just thank all of the funders on this call for showing up today to this briefing. I think that during a time where so much of philanthropy is pulling away and hiding and looking out for themselves, for lack of better words here, cleaning up all of the words to not be perceived as so radical during these times. It's important that you're here today. And so I want to thank you all for showing up and being so willing to hear what Proyecto Faro has to say in regards to Rockland County. I think that it's one of the counties that gets very overlooked in the Hudson Valley region, a small county, and there's a huge immigrant community in Rockland County. And I'm arriving to this really eager to hear the analysis of Proyecto Faro, to see how people are mobilizing during this time, and, you know, not to like name again, right? Like the endless amount of resources that you need during this time. My relationship with Proyecto Faro is that they are one of our grantees here in North Star Fund, and they arrived to our portfolio back in 2020. And during also like a very crazy time, the pandemic, and they've been pushing through ever since to try to be as present as they can be and do the amazing organizing that they do in Rockland County. So once again, just thank you to my peers in philanthropy for being here. It means a lot, and I hope that we can all get more grounded during this time about what's happening with our immigrant community in Rockland County, because what's happening all over is just really horrifying. This is a time to be as informed as possible, but also a time to take direct action. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Gabriela. We'll just pause here just a quick second so that those of us from Proyecto Faro can just quickly introduce ourselves as well. I'm Liz Roberts, and I, along with Dilcia, am co-executive director.
Hi, everybody. My name's Amy Dalton, and I'm the board treasurer of Proyecto Faro.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nelsie, and I am the board chair for Proyecto Faro. And I don't think these ladies are giving themselves too much credit because they do way more than what their title says. Just saying.
Same with you.
So good afternoon, everyone. I just want to start by saying that Proyecto Faro could not have come this far without our partners. We have been able to grow, sustain, and respond to so many needs because of organizations and individuals who took the time to work closely alongside us. And today, the folks in this room represent just one of those key partners. So we thank you so much for being here and taking the time to be here with us today. I would like to take a moment to recognize the groups that are here with us: the Center for Safety and Change, Rockland Immigration Coalition, Combinec Lakai, United Way of Rockland County, Mary-Dave Health and Life Center, the Rockland Coalition to End the New Jim Crow, and our current and former funders of Proyecto Faro here with us today as well: the North Star Fund, the New York Immigration Coalition, the PCUSA Presbyterian Disaster Assistance, and the Rockland Community Foundation. Now I would love for us to do a quick round on introductions, and let's start with our co-sponsors and funders. If you could please share your name, your role, and the organization you're with. We will be hearing more in depth about your role later on in the session, but this is just a way for everyone to put a face to the name. So if we can start with North Star Fund.
I'm the Hudson Valley Program Director here at North Star Fund, and just it's a privilege and an honor to work so closely with Proyecto Faro and learn about their work in the Hudson Valley. And I'll pass it to Kelly.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Kelly Terry, pronouns she, her, anything loving, and I'm Managing Director of Philanthropy Programs here at North Star Fund. So really thankful again for you mobilizing all of us to keep our eyes out on this very critical issue at this time.
Thank you, Kelly and Gabriela. I heard so much about you guys, so it's good to put the name, the face together. PCUSA Presbyterian Disaster Assistant.
Hi, my name is Omar Salinas Chacon. I'm the mission specialist for the Migration and Company Ministries. I help coordinate the church's national response to refugees and asylum seekers.
Awesome, nice meeting you. Rockland Community Foundation.
Hi, everybody. I'm Julie Sadowski. I'm the Executive Director of the Rockland Community Foundation, and one of the over 120 charitable funds that we steward is the Fund for East Ramapo Public School Students. They were the ones who initiated the grant to Proyecto Faro. I'll talk a little bit more about that later.
Awesome. Center for Safety and Change.
Good afternoon, all. I'm Andrea Panjwani. I'm the Chief Legal Officer at the Center for Safety and Change. I also chair the Rockland Immigration Coalition. I do some legal consulting work with Proyecto Faro. Very happy to be here with you all.
Many hats, Andrea. Thank you for being here. Combinec Lakai.
Hi, Reynold Julian here. I'm the proud executive director of Combinec Lakai, which is the Haitian American Community Center here in Rockland County. We have been servicing the immigrant population here for the past 38 years. Thank you for having me.
And being good partners with us, so thank you. United Way of Rockland County.
My name is Jacqueline Goldstein. I'm the Vice President of Resource Development at the United Way of Rockland, and proud and grateful for the great work that Proyecto Faro does for the community and our collaboration with Proyecto Faro.
Thank you so much for being here. Mary-Dave Faith and Life Center.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jess Wallstrom, and I am the chair of the board of directors for the Mary-Dave Faith and Life Center. We've been operating in Rockland County for 101 years. I'll share a tiny bit more about that history later on in this call. And I also wanted to hand the mic over to Sister Cecilia, who is the executive director of One-to-One Learning, which is currently operating at Marydale, but a separate organization. So Sister Cecilia.
Yeah, we're very fortunate to be on the grounds of the sacred grounds of Marydale Faith and Life Center. And for 29 years, we have been welcoming immigrants to our classes. And of course, we have many other things that we offer them, and we'll talk more about that later. And we have had some great interaction with Proyecto Faro as well.
Thank you so much for being here. Rockland Coalition to End the New Jim Crow.
Yeah, hi, my name's Mark Pesson, and I'm on the steering committee of the Rockland Coalition to End the New Jim Crow. And as the name implies, we're against all kinds of detention. Some people have been detained in this country for 400 years. So we have to recognize that ending the new Jim Crow has a lot to do today with the whole immigrant population that's being oppressed and detained for the very same reasons that other people have been detained for many, many years as well. So we thank Proyecto Faro, we thank Dilcia and everybody else on the board and supportive of Proyecto Faro, because they stand as the center of the whole issue of ICE Watch, of canvassing and spreading the notion of what are your rights, because immigrants do have rights and they need to be known, and also for all the other services they provide immigrants, whether it's clothing or food. We are absolutely proud of what they do, and that's why we're allied with them, because they're doing very, very important work.
Thank you so much, Mark. And I just want to give a minute to see if I missed anybody or any organization, any partners that I missed. If you guys feel comfortable to write in your name and your organization and your contact info on the chat, we will appreciate it so that we can network. And in case anybody needs to connect with anybody after, that would be awesome. Thank you so much.
And we're also going to have the new friends, our funder friends that are in the space, also introduce themselves. Yeah, and feel free to just popcorn, those of you who remain.
Hi, I'm Bea Stern with the Ralph E. Ogden Foundation, located in Orange County, New York, and I'm here with Lisa Stern and Charlotte Dillon, also from this foundation, and we're happy to be here at the invitation of North Star Fund and to learn more about Proyecto Faro.
Hi, I'm Marissa Martin. I use she, her pronouns, and I was also invited by North Star Fund through the New York City Capacity Building Collaborative. So I'm just here to also learn more.
Oh, thank you. So excited that you're here.
Thanks so much for joining us, folks. I am very, very moved to see so many new faces, and I'm grateful to have a chance to speak with you all. So I'm just going to speak briefly about the funding context in Rockland County, and the real impetus for us wanting to bring you all together is the great need for greater investment in really exceptional work. Trying to be modest in terms of our work, I think it's pretty swell, but also our amazing, amazing partners who deserve an audience. So in Rockland, historically, there's really been a lack of organizing and base building overall as a model for addressing a range of needs and issues. And there's been a lot less focus on system change work, a lot more focus in direct service. And direct service is vitally important, and we do some of it, but in general, that difference in perspective and those tools have been underused. And so we're really looking at decades of a dynamic that many of us are trying to shift. And because there hasn't been a lot of organizing, there's been a brain drain in the county. A lot of people get politicized and they get involved in organizing if they go off to college or they move to a different city, and they don't generally return because there hasn't been a lot for them. If they're interested in movement work, there hasn't been a lot here. That is now changing, where we really believe that the more we develop a culture of organizing, the more organizing opportunities there are, the greater ability there will be to retain people in the long term. And that's what we need. We need a lot of people because that's what it takes, a lot of people to be able to mobilize and move people. And the county has a lot of nonprofits, an incredible array. But as I was saying, they're mainly direct service and they mainly have the charity mentality. And so we're really trying to shift that in terms of thinking about mutual aid and solidarity more. A lot of these nonprofits get federal and state and local funding, and the local funding happens to be very tightly controlled by the county executive. And in exchange, it's sort of expected that folks don't make waves. And most of the funding opportunities, like federal and state grants, for instance, don't really match the work that Proyecto Faro and One-to-One and Combat Negla Kai do. And we believe that there's a really great need for grassroots fundraising, and that's the philosophy we've had all along. And so we do events and we have sustainers and we have a major donor program and we do appeals. But according to our local Institute of Nonprofits, there's more than 1,100 nonprofits in Rockland. And there's a lot of wealthy folks here too, but there's not commensurate support for immigrant justice and social justice. And so only a small handful of donors have ever really given more than $1,000. And so it's hard to only exist with a grassroots fundraising model, though we believe in it as a form of organizing and we really celebrate it, but we understand that it takes a lot to sustain. And regarding funding for organizing, we've had support obviously from wonderful funders, including folks here, North Star, the PCUSA, New York Immigration Coalition. And like us, some groups in the county have also had these small grants that we can get from certain faith-based funds, and we are grateful for them. It's hard to sort of sustain again, with these smaller investments. And because there aren't foundations that have made large multi-year investments in organizing and capacity building for social justice groups, there's obviously this huge potential, but it hasn't happened up until now. And we see that that's a big challenge in terms of sustaining this kind of work. And so we see that that's a missing piece that feels really important. And in this climate in particular, it's especially critical. We have to shore up not just our regular work, but also the community defense work around this crisis that we're in, while also strengthening coalition efforts with local and regional partners. So that's to give you a little bit of background, and I'm going to pass it to Dilcia, who's going to discuss the conditions a little more deeply on the ground for immigrants in Rockland.
So once again, I started sharing some of what's going on here in Rockland County today as we see it on the ground from day to day. We have seen this skyrocketing ICE arrests at homes, businesses, day laborer sites, staging outside the Spring Valley Village Hall, checkpoints, families being torn apart. So as I had shared, it had gone from 6 back in February to over 30 in just one here in the county. So although we have a rapid response hotline, it becomes nearly impossible to be able to go and check all the sites if you have this amount going on at one time. We also have seen that Rockland has very few immigrant attorneys, mostly of the private attorneys, and many of them are really predatory attorneys because some of them are not even immigration attorneys. And because of the increase of people needing these services, they don't specialize in immigration law, and they still prey upon the community who ends up losing because they don't have the adequate representation, and they charge a lot of money. We're talking a lot, from $10,000 for one person to $40,000 per family. So we could see how this becomes a nearly impossible task for any family, more or less immigrant families that are coming in and trying to make sure that they survive and support themselves and their. Frequently, people's cases worsen because of the lack of expert representation and the predatory attorneys that had taken their money. We continue to see the condition in the East Ramapo School District, once an excellent school here in Rockland County, and it has been systemically defunded by a majority school or white school boards serving Black and Brown community and students that are mostly immigrants. So overcrowding of schools, crumbling buildings, understaffed, including very few nurses, counselors, ESL teachers, and you name it, maintenance personnel. So we can see how this has taken a toll in being able to maintain the standards needed to be able to teach our children. So it went from being a number 1 to a number 638, I believe, as of last night, which is the very last number. With capable children that are being educated to be able to survive this environment. How rentals are not affordable for our people. The overcrowding then becomes very prevalent on top of landlords neglecting the dwellings. So families are living in very unsafe and dangerous places. Wage theft, low wages, taking advantage of people that are undocumented. And in recent years, we've seen at least 3 police murders and 1 case of an immigrant being badly beaten by a cop. Have openly made some remarks that are not very friendly, understand, and continue to align with the community so that we are all feeling safe. a fair amount of sympathetic allies have been present, and we continue to need to organize to push for a county that are able to look out for every member of the community, including the immigrant community, so that they can feel protected, so that we can feel that we could step outside our doors and know that we're going to be safe because our community is safe. So we need to push the state also to have representation of pro bono immigration legislation. And with that, we need allies, and we continue to need to educate our communities. So these are a few of the things that I wanted to share with you. So Proyecto Faro is going to continue to organize, and I want to invite Nelsie to explain that program.
So thank you, Dilcia. I think I'm going to leave my video off because I wasn't able to hear Dilcia too well. And after I did that, then it worked for me. So as many of you know, from the outset, everything Proyecto Faro has done has been rooted in partnerships. Dozens of organizations have stood with us, and we continue to foster strong coalition work and provided an intersectional approach. You will be hearing from some of those partners shortly. At the heart of our work, we have three key commitments: sustained base building and leadership development along directly impacted community members. We are prioritizing coalition and close memberships to strengthen our collective power. We have been building efficient and volunteer-driven programs that stretch our resources and maximize our impact. When Proyecto Faro was founded, Rockland County lacked an immigrant-led organization dedicated for long-term community organizing. From the very beginning, immigrants themselves have shaped and carried our work, earning deep trust across the community. Our first initiative was the Legal Empowerment Program. What began as a once-a-month volunteer clinic is now a Monday to Friday service that encourages immigrants to make ownership of their cases and be involved in those cases. We build total free of charge legal clinic, and this is called pro se model, which is when individuals represent themselves in legal matters rather than relying entirely on an attorney. And today we have 3 DOJ accredited representatives on staff, supported by a contractual lawyer who is also here today. We have always been there for family in crisis, providing accompaniment, making referrals, and intervening in moments of real threat, not just legal, but also emotional support. When the county moved to enforce housing codes in a way that will displace hundreds of immigrant families, Proyecto Faro successfully pushed back and stopped these mass evictions. When local elected officials began to make openly xenophobic and racist remarks about immigrants to prevent asylum seekers from coming to Rockland by getting an injunction, we organized a press conference, a coalition vigil, and wrote an OEP in response to all these things that were happening, which succeed in putting them on the defensive. During the pandemic, we expanded our mutual aid programs, the weekly food distributions, 3 community fridges, a community garden, and a free store. This all has been led by staff, but sustained by volunteers that have been within our organization for years now. Our first community organizing campaign focused on educational justice in the East Ramapo School District. In partnership with allies, we launched a 2-week student organizing training and then began recruiting and training parents in organizing and leadership efforts. That effort has grown into a network of about 500 parents who strategize together. They engage in school board meetings, they meet with legislators, and even have traveled to Albany by bus to advocate on behalf of their children. Their work has already shifted how state leaders respond to East Ramapo. We have also participated in the Excluded Workers Funds campaign and are now working on legislative campaigns to try to keep local enforcement from collaborating with ICE and to secure legal representation for all immigrants. As unjustified arrest by ICE has increased recently, we have organized dozens of Know Your Right training and developed a rapid response network and a circle of faith-based leaders, all who are volunteering to accompany families, canvass, and ensure that immigrant neighbors know their rights and have the community support that they need. Proyecto Faro has accomplished all of this with a lean structure. We have been extremely efficient, relying on volunteer labor for many aspects of our work, and the larger nonprofit typically cover with staff. That efficiency has allowed us to do a lot with a small team. And at the same time, we recognize that to grow, to keep up with the demand, and to sustain this impact, we need to expand our staffing and support the base so we can build on our strength without overextending our team. From mutual aid to legal empowerment to educational justice to rapid response, food insecurity, every step of the way, Proyecto Faro has shown that immigrant-led organizing can achieve, and we are only just at the beginning. There is so much more that we want to do, and we can do it with the support of you and the support of all the volunteers and the staff that we have. Thank you for listening, and I'll pass it on to Dilcia.
Now, we want to be able to provide the opportunity to each of our co-sponsors and partners and friends to share and discuss their work and what your experience have been working with Proyecto Faro. So I want to invite Center for Safety and Change first, Andrea. And you may want to speak for both Center for Safety and Change and Rockland Immigration Coalition, being that wearing two hats at the same time. Thanks.
Thank you, Dilcia. I'm happy to. Yes, I wanted to follow up on something that Liz mentioned. We are actually here in Rockland County. It's estimated that about a quarter of the population is foreign born, which is a significant percentage. And we are also in what's known as a legal desert. There is no dedicated immigration legal services nonprofit program here in Rockland County, which really, it's a contrast to the other larger counties here in the state of New York. The office I work for, the Center for Safety and Change, we are the county's nonprofit that serves survivors of domestic violence, human trafficking, sexual assaults, hate crimes, and other crimes for that matter. So just to give you a quick picture of what we do, we operate a 24/7 shelter, a 24/7 hotline. We have therapy, case management services, educators who go out in the community to work on the prevention side of things. And we also have a legal program. And our office, we serve over 1,000 people a year. And I will say the lion's share of the people we are serving are immigrants. As a person who oversees our legal work, since I started, we have probably quadrupled our legal staff and built a pretty robust immigration legal services program, which I think makes us one of the only ones in the state. But the people we serve have to be, just because of what our mission is, survivors of domestic violence, human trafficking, and other gender-based violence. So that's the population we serve. And one of the largest demands for services at our organization, apart from housing, is probably immigration. Elsewhere in the county, we have a Catholic Charities, and they do a modest number of naturalization cases and some adjustment of status. And that's really it for free nonprofit immigration legal services in our county. And Proyecto Faro and our organization and others, we're seeing an influx of people who are newcomers. They have fled persecution in their home countries, unspeakable things, and are coming here. And here we are with just our little legal program and Proyecto Faro's really impressive legal services support program as well. Proyecto Faro has the trust of the community. I can honestly say that. They refer a lot of cases to us, and people are afraid to come to nonprofits. They're afraid to go to government agencies. They're even afraid to go to faith organizations right now, given what's happening with ICE, but they will go to Proyecto Faro. I think of it as ground zero in a lot of ways, and we really respect the trust and the integration that they have with the immigrant communities. I can't really think of an organization that's doing more and that's more comprehensive and doing more to serve immigrants, and they're excellent partners. And just as they refer legal clients to my organization, we refer lots of people to their organizations and really appreciate the empowerment model that they have, because immigrants are just such a vital part of our community fabric, and they get that, and they train immigrants to become leaders and to do their own advocacy. And I always think of your community fridge as being such a good metaphor for what you do. You give what you can, and then you take when you need, and there's nothing paternalistic about it. I just love that model. I can't say enough about how much I support this organization. And in terms of my Rockland Immigration Coalition hat, we also work very closely. When they have their monthly clinics. We try to get volunteers to staff. We do advocacy together. I know Dilsey and I have been together in legislators' offices. We're trying to work on narrative shift, such false narratives about immigrants when they contribute so much to businesses, to the tax base, to just the richness of our lives. And so, we do advocacy together. We do a lot of public education together, training allies as well as victims. Immigrants are kind of victims right now of ICE, and training them to know their rights and to exercise those rights and to minimize risk and to think about what they need to do to plan for their families in the event of separation. So we've been working really close together in those three areas. And I could go on, but I'm going to stop now to give space to everyone else. But it's really an honor to work and collaborate with Proyecto Faro.
Thank you so much, Andrea. And yes, it's been really a great partnership. And just to be able to give you a little background as well, the only way that we were able to establish our clinic was because Center for Safety and Change legal team agreed to be there from the very beginning, to be the pro bono attorneys, to make this happen, to be able to train staff, to teach the community how to be able to do pro se cases, or meaning that those pro se cases entails demystifying the process of immigration application, demystifying the process as to what you need to do next and why it's important to do it. So keeping that in mind, we really appreciate our partners because it's the only way that we can do it. The other organization that we work very, very closely with is one that has great experience working with immigrants here in Rockland County because they've been here over 38 years, if not even more, because they were not incorporated before. So I want to invite Renald Julian, Nono, as I know him, to be able to share with us the partnership that we do have as we serve the immigrant community in being able to assist with immigration cases. And we're in partnership as we do the organizing. Nono?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Ilsia, Liz, for having me. And let me start by saying that I am not going to be too long, but I apologize already if I say anything that one of you don't like. Okay. Again, my name is Renald Julien. I am the executive director of Combit Neglakai. Combit Neglakai is a Creole name, meaning together for a stronger community. We have been here in Rockland County for 38 years. Combit Neglakai, maybe we are the only one or maybe one or two recognized OLAP immigration center in Rockland County. And myself, I am an accredited immigration agent. So now, sometimes people need to hear the truth. And I'm going to tell you one thing that I know is the truth. Because I will say most of the immigrants of Rockland County, mostly the newcomers, are dark-skinned immigrants. So therefore, Rockland County is not really on the map. From 2023 to the end of 2024, thousands of immigrants, mostly from Haiti, came to Rockland County. And you know what? The sad thing is, here we are servicing immigrants. During the entire time, none of the so-called elected officials or none of the agencies outside of Rockland County who are supposed to be helping immigrants have never picked up the phone to give me a call to ask me what can they do to help us. We are by ourselves. As a small institutions, I had to find ways. Thank God. Okay, Jilcia is someone that I know for years, if maybe 20, 25 years, if it's not longer. At least I had her when I was running into trouble for me to give her to call to ask her, what do I have to do? For example, this year alone, we are in September. From January 1st to yesterday, we have already done over 750, okay, work permit, asylum, adjustment of status, relative petition, over 750 from January 1st to today. So now, again, because of the skin color of the immigrants that Proyecto Faro and Combit Neglakai and one-to-one learning, we are servicing, it is hard. The money is not there. The financial support is not there. I always said everywhere that I go, where people are talking about immigrants, I always say, if Combit Neglakai was a white immigrant community center, at least our budget will be over millions of dollars. Okay, this like people will be looking to help us. Now, unfortunately, we are an agency servicing, I will say, 80% Haitians, 20% Indian, Jamaican, Latinos. The financial support is not there. But listen, when we started that organization, we didn't start it to make money. We started the organization because myself, as the leader of that group, 38 years ago, after I left Haiti, I said, you know what? I left Haiti not because I was hungry. I left Haiti because of freedom. I left Haiti because I was looking for a better future. So therefore, when I came here at the age of 22, I had no choice to start Conbit Neglakai. And today I can tell you, if you don't mind, Dilcia, I would love to share. I don't know how to do it, Dilcia. I was going to show our friends our beautiful immigrant community center here, Conbit Neglakai. And for all of you on the panel today, please get yourself ready, because at Conbit Neglakai, we are adding a second floor. We are adding 2,000 square foot on top of our building. The dream is for Proyecto Faro and Conbit Neglakai to have in Rockland what we call the true home of the immigrant community of Rockland County, where if you are an agency servicing immigrants, that place will be for you. I will have an office available for you to come to provide services. Right now, Conbit Neglakai, we are applying to have our own license so we can have a CNA, HHA, PCA school here at Conbit Neglakai. Again, all I'm asking all of you who have control over money, Proyecto Faro needs your help. I will say it the way I see it. I don't play politics when it comes to my immigrant brothers and sisters. If I say an agency is doing the job, they are doing it. Proyecto Faro is one of the best agencies servicing immigrants in Rockland. So therefore, I am begging all of you who have the power, who have the money, who can make the difference on an immigrant life. We need the support by helping Proyecto Faro, even if it's not Conbit Neglakai. I don't care. Give money to an immigrant community agency that is really helping all people. Proyecto Faro and Conbit Neglakai are servicing immigrants of color. So therefore, the financial support is not there. It was a pleasure, Dilcia. Let's continue to fight for our brothers and sisters.
Wow. Thank you so much, Nono. I know I didn't tell him to say that, but yes, we do work from our hearts. And Nono has also been there for the community and also given us tips as to how we can come together and continue to serve our communities the best way that we can with the little resources that we have. Thank you so much. And we are there together because our community needs it and we need each other. So next, we're going to hear from United Way of Rockland County.
My name is Jacqueline Goldstein. I'm the Vice President of Resource Development at the United Way of Rockland. The United Way of Rockland raises funds to support programs in the community. We have different programs such as 211, our information and referral services. We also have our Gifts in Kind program. The Gifts in Kind program provides furniture, goods, to the community, to the agency, to the nonprofit organization in the community. We also have our community impact program. And through our community impact program, we funded Proyecto Faro. We provided funds for their peer-to-peer training programs. And also to our EFSP program, which is our emergency food and shelter program, we provided funds for their food pantry. We believe in the mission of Proyecto Faro and also all the collaboration with all the nonprofit organizations in the community. The residents of Rockland believe and trust Proyecto Faro, and that's why we collaborate with them. And thank you for providing such great services to our immigrants in our Rockland community. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you so much, Jackie.
Thank you.
And we appreciate your support. Now, Mary Dale, please. Jess.
Thank you. So I apologize for my lack of camera. Verizon just cut a wire. As I mentioned before, my name is Jess. I'm here today with the Marydale Faith and Life Center. And for those who are not aware of us, we operate on 10 acres of land in Upper Nyack, and those acres have been home to a group of Catholic sisters for 101 years. The original mission of those sisters and what they brought to Marydale was service, especially in support of immigrant communities. And for more than a century, the land on which we operate has served as a home for many people who have come to receive a range of services, to learn English, to attend summer camp and recreational programming. And it's really continued to serve as a space committed to facilitating and fostering people's connection to each other. In 2017, the sisters transitioned 30 of their 40 acres of land to the New York State Land Trust, in alignment with their commitment to preservation of land, and then a lay board and lay staff were formed at that time in 2017. So we're now a separate 501c3 with a really interesting history, and I often joke that we are the oldest startup ever at this point. So at Marydale, I serve as the chair of the board of directors and also as the director of strategy and collaborations. And in that role, especially over the last couple of years, it's allowed me to continue to work with staff and other leadership to plan for current offerings and a future that's built on the foundation laid by the sisters. Our programming is generally divided into 3 buckets: programming offered by the sisters, which includes a lot of retreat work and sort of convening of different community groups; Marydale offered programming, which includes recreational nature, art programming, and a lot of garden and food justice work; and also community collaborations. And those are programs that involve partnerships with groups, some of whom are on this call, and others, there are many, many others in the community, and organizations that are designed to respond to very specific and unmet needs in our community. And those, basically, if you can think of it, and we can work with you to make it happen on our grounds. Everything that we do is prioritized for those with limited access to these offerings elsewhere, including and especially immigrant members of our community and beyond. I mentioned earlier Sister Cecilia, who is here representing one-to-one learning. And again, I'll hand things over to her in a minute to talk to you about the incredible work she's been doing for decades. But one specific thing about Marydale's collaboration with Proyecto Faro in the last few months in particular, we've really been able to come together to work on convening concerned community leaders and members. Have been instrumental in helping to organize the faith-based group of people who are meeting, have continued to offer accompaniment as we have through the sisters and through our staff and volunteers for decades, and also are a constant source of referrals to Proyecto Faro services. Proyecto Faro is able to refer back to us as well for those things that we offer. So all are welcome on our grounds. And again, we are really, really focused on serving and continuing to serve immigrant members of our community and beyond. And we hope to be always a home for those who visit, including the incredible people who are a part of One-to-One Learning's client group. So Sister Cecilia, please feel free to share more.
Thank you, Jessica. As I said before, we're most grateful to Marydale for giving us a space. We started off at St. John's Church in Piermont for 10 years. We were there and we grew out of that space, and then we were welcomed to Marydale. So we're there 19 years now. We began our mission in Piermont because there were many, many immigrants who were in the housing near us. And they came, we learned about them because people from our housing at Thorpe Village told us about them. And we began to visit with them, and we got to know them, and they got to know us. And because we were connected to church, they felt comfortable with us. So what we basically are doing, we have English classes, ESOL classes, all the way from beginner to pre-GED classes with essay writing. We have a children's program while the parents are in class, and they get homework help and do crafts. They read to the little children. But part of our mission is also providing social services for the people. While they're here in class, we actually have programs going on where we have doctors and nurses coming in taking blood pressure. And if we find that somebody has a very high blood pressure, they can go to a free clinic where they are given extra services, free extra services. This is good for them because they don't always have time to go, they're working all day long, and they don't even have time to take care of their health during the day. We have classes before school, before class, where they have exercises and they do classes on eating. We have the M&T Bank coming and providing them with checking accounts so that they can keep their money safe whatever money they do have. We have attorneys coming, and that's a way in which Proyecto Faro has helped us in the past. They have provided services where they have come to help us with Know Your Rights programs. We have parenting classes. A lot of our parents are from the Spring Valley area where there's the difficulty with the school there. So we have people working with our parents on how to work through the school systems, which is another very difficult thing for them to know how to handle. If their child is put in a class and that class really isn't proper for that child, how do they work through the system? So all of these are social service things that we work with our students, and they feel safe with us. And when you're talking about leadership, our original students, their children are teaching at one-to-one learning. They have programs, they have soccer tournaments, they raise funds for the classes. So there's a lot of leadership training that goes on, and it's coming right out of the community with all the original students. And in fact, today I was at Albertus Magnus, and a 9th grader came and said, "Oh, my mother and father went to that program." And then she had all her friends from 9th grade sign up to be volunteers. I mean, it just keeps going around and around and around. When you're doing something for so many years, you reap a lot of the graces. But we also have a lot of students who are hurting. And we just had some of our students come and say that they were supposed to go to court. I'm constantly writing letters for them. And again, the good thing that happens with Proyecto Faro is that we have had meetings all about rapid response, about sanctuary, and they have brought the community together with Marydale and the faith communities. How can we approach this together? How can we be a force of goodness and hope for the communities that are so wonderful? They are wonderful people. That's really what I would say to you and all of you who do so many good things in the communities. Renaud was there before I ever came. He was a welcomer, and Proyecto Faro was there at the beginning. We had Proyecto Faro came to talk to our sisters. They love Proyecto Faro. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Sister Cecilia. We love you as well. And it's always so great to have partners and allies like you all to be able to make sure that we're not feeling alone. So next, we're going to get to speak with Mark from Rockland Coalition to Engine.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I would just say that one of the major reasons I really like working with Proyecto Faro is because I was a teacher for 51 years, mostly in New York City, Harlem, South Bronx, Lower East Side, and up here in Rockland as well for about 20 years. So the fact that Proyecto Faro has worked so hard in the schools, they had courage to go and confront the predominantly white male school board that was running these schools in East Ramapo and still are, to the detriment of all the immigrant children. And yet Proyecto Faro was going in there and helping in whatever way they could. So just to talk a little bit about the Rockland Coalition, our group was created by activists who, after reading Michelle Alexander's eye-opening book, The New Jim Crow, Mass Incarceration in the Age of Colorblindness, decided to take this book to a wider audience. We conducted community and small group readings and discussions, but we did not stop there. We are not a book group, though we strongly believe in reading and studying together in order to educate and arm ourselves about various issues and to speak with one voice. You should know that the other day we met, the Proyecto Faro Rockland Coalition reading group met with about 10 people who also are going to be reading on an ongoing basis to educate ourselves about the immigrant community and all the issues related to that. So we're doing that together, and it's really a very worthwhile endeavor. I wanted to talk a little bit about what the Rockland Coalition has done in the last 13 years or so. As a coalition of individuals from all walks of life, beliefs, and political persuasions, our members have worked in solidarity with other organizations to demonstrate support of Ban the Box, the Halt Bill, RAP, Raise the Age, Clean Slate, Planned Parenthood, BLM, and immigrants in New York City, Nyack, Spring Valley, New Paltz, Kingston, Poughkeepsie, and other parts of the Hudson Valley. We have raised awareness of climate change and the need for environment and housing justice in poor communities, giving ongoing support to the Ramapo Lenape Nation in their struggles, rallied against Asian hate, and challenged educational inequality in East Ramapo. We are allies with Proyecto Faro, immigrants' rights, and support other groups on an as-needed basis. So, as Martin Luther King said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And that is one of the major reasons we're supporting Proyecto Faro. There's an intersectionality in the understanding within that organization, that they understand that we're all fighting in this together and that we're trying to create a better world for everybody. It's not just immigrants. They stress the fact that we're really fighting for everybody. And for that reason, we absolutely support what they're doing. It's on a day-to-day basis that they take risks. A lot of organizations are afraid to take the same kind of risks because they're afraid of losing funding and salaries and everything else. Proyecto Faro just closes their eyes to a whole lot of things because they realize that fighting for justice is more important than anything. And that is one of the reasons we need to fund them. I remember working with North Star something like 40 or 50 years ago, and they were funding people in New York City at a time when nobody else would fund them. Well, it's time for everybody to step up now and support a group like Proyecto Faro, which is essential for the fight in terms of the most oppressed people in Rockland County and elsewhere. And so we need to support them because if they disappear, we're all going to be in a lot of trouble in terms of those struggles. So please find it in your heart to come up with the funding that they absolutely need to survive. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. We appreciate all you do, Mark. The Rockland Coalition to End Jim Crow has taken the time to be able to see what the goals are and what the needs are as the community members identify it, and then develop different hands per se to be able to help us as we need it as volunteers. And it goes from this past weekend going throughout the community to visit our neighbors and business owners to be able to share with them the importance of knowing immigrants' rights and knowing their rights and supporting the community. So thank you so much. So now we're going to continue our briefing with North Star because they've been very, very helpful as well, really an ally, including doing this briefing as they identify the need to be able to support our communities, and they understand the lack of resources in Rockland, and Gabriela and the staff have been there being able to brainstorm with us as to how to make this happen and how to bring all of you on board so that you also understand, because we know you care. Thank you, Gabriela.
Yeah, I guess what I'll add, I mean, I spoke at the beginning about the importance of, all of us being here on this call today, especially my peers in philanthropy. And what I would add is that during this time, we know that it's small grassroots organizations that are experiencing the most stress, the most financial restraint at the moment, and fear of their organizations dissolving because of the lack of funding right now, especially in the region of the Hudson Valley. So, for those of you on this call that, you might not fund Rockland County, but if you have any connections that you could, either share with me or pass along directly with Proyecto Faro so that they could explore some additional funding, that would be incredible, because they are currently the only organization right now really holding it so down like this for the immigrant community in Rockland County. And I would love to continue seeing them thrive and provide the support that the immigrant community needs during this time, and to even, do more of the work that it's needed, more rapid response networks, right? And strengthening that to a level that we haven't seen before. And I think Proyecto Faro definitely has the potential to bring that work forward, and just others also can learn from what Proyecto Faro is doing. So it is my hope that if you don't have capacity or room within your current budget, that you can at least make some introductions, etc. That's my plug for now.
One of our co-sponsors, the New York Immigration Coalition, wanted very much to be here, but they have an all-day event that ended up conflicting. So they have provided a very brief video that I am going to share with you.
Hello, my name is Laura Garcia from the New York Immigration Coalition. Over this past year, I've had the privilege of collaborating with Proyecto Faro and welcoming their staff to the New York Immigration Coalition events and programs. I've seen firsthand the dedication they bring to supporting immigrant families in Rockland, and I'm honored to speak about why their work deserves strong institutional investment. Immigrants are at the heart of Rockland. They work, raise families, and enrich every part of our county. But too often, they face barriers, whether it's fear of enforcement, lack of language access, or difficulty navigating housing, education, or health systems. Without strong institutional support, too many families remain isolated and vulnerable. That's where Proyecto Faro comes in. As an immigrant-led organization, Proyecto Faro builds trust and provides real solutions. From Know Your Rights workshops to community surveys on school conditions, from housing sanctuary network to direct outreach, Proyecto Faro ensures that immigrants are informed, connected, and supported. Investing in Proyecto Faro is more than supporting one non-for-profit. It's building infrastructure for justice and resilience. With greater resources, Proyecto Faro can expand its reach and respond quickly in times of crisis and strengthen the immigrant leadership in Rockland. This work also directly advances the New York Immigration Coalition's broader goals, ensuring immigrant and communities across the state have power, voice, and representation. By supporting Proyecto Faro, institutions aren't just helping Rockland, they're helping NYIC achieve statewide impact. The call to action is simple. Rockland needs stable, long-term investment in Proyecto Faro. Funding partnerships and policy support will allow immigrants to thrive, participate, and fully help shape the future of our country. When we invest in Proyecto Faro, we invest in Rockland's dignity, strength, and inclusion. Together, we can ensure that immigrant families don't just survive, they thrive. Thank you.
I also just want to take a moment to just re-emphasize that our hope is really that all organizations that are geared toward immigrant power and the voice and the leadership of marginalized communities in general, that we want to lift all boats. So investment in all community projects that are focused on these things is our large goal here. Obviously, Faro has our own set of needs, but we are very clear that supporting and investing in the community at large is really valuable. And so I just wanted to take a moment to state that. And I believe now, if Omar would like to share a little bit, then you're up.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share a little bit about our program. Migration and Company Ministries started way back at the end of World War II to help out refugees after that conflict. And for decades, the Presbyterian Church has been involved with trying to help refugees and asylum seekers seek protection. In the 80s, we even were one of the main churches that gave sanctuary to migrants who escaped the civil wars in Central America. And we are so happy to have Proyecto Faro be part of that legacy. I think it's important to stress that right now, a lot of organizations with funding being pulled from the federal government and just in general, the economic conditions right now, a lot of them are shutting down. Just in the state of Kentucky, where I am, we had 4 nonprofit immigration clinics. Now we're down to 2, and only 1 is taking cases. And I just want to stress how Rockland County is very, very lucky to have a Proyecto Faro be there for the community and trying hard to stay open. A lot of immigrants across the country don't really have something like Proyecto Faro in their communities. And that became apparent, at least for us at Presbyterian Disaster Assistance, by the number of grant requests that we were given this year. And it is a tumultuous time. And I just want to highlight how Proyecto Faro specifically is the lighthouse and how we are in very dark times, but we have a lighthouse we can center our direction at. So we are very, very thankful to have worked with Proyecto Faro in the past, and we're hoping to continue collaborating with them in the future. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Omar. And we really appreciate you being here, and we appreciate all the support. Now, last but not least, my friend Julie, and it's so great to see you here with us. So I want to invite you as well to be able to please share with us from Rockland Community Foundation, as you are part of our supporters as well, to
Sure.
share what you do.
I appreciate the opportunity to meet and speak and really learn about the important work that this community at large is doing. Real quick about what we do and how we fit into this process and initiative. We are one of over 950 community foundations that are located all around the country. We're all independent, but we all share one common goal, and that's really to improve our communities through philanthropy and building charitable capital. We at the Rockland Community Foundation do granting, just as all of our colleagues around the country do. But what's a little bit different about a community foundation versus some of the private foundations that we've listened to today is the bulk of the grants that leave our not-for-profit are by virtue of funds that we steward. We steward currently over 120 charitable funds. They range everywhere from donor-advised funds to scholarships. We serve as an incubator for startup not-for-profits. We serve as a fiscal sponsor. We help get nonprofits off the ground, and we also work very closely with existing nonprofits who already have their 501c3 status to find innovative ways to help them with their fundraising and to build, again, charitable giving and philanthropy that meets their goals. I mentioned the funds that we steward. We refer to them as component funds, and one of the component funds that we currently steward is the Fund for East Ramapo Students Public Education that was established by Latham and Watkins. And I'm sure many of you remember a few years ago a very significant lawsuit which Latham and Watkins was part of against the white male-dominated school board at East Ramapo. And as is often the case, they do pro bono work, and the court then says that the people who lost the lawsuit need to establish charitable funds that will help effect some change. So these were court-appointed fees that Latham and Watkins received, and they chose to come to the Rockland Community Foundation to open this particular charitable fund. It's actually a donor-advised fund. I have worked with their advisory board for several years, and of course, am thrilled to share that the fund advisors have made grants 2 times to Proyecto Faro, and that has been for the Parent Empowerment Campaign that actually Nelsie spoke about earlier. And I was pleased to learn that over 500 parents have been part of this program. Grants have come from the Rockland Community Foundation to Proyecto Faro for $35,500 over the course of 2 years for this program that resides at the East Ramapo School District. So we are thrilled to be able to facilitate this grant, believe very strongly in the work that this organization is doing, as well as all the organizations. And I was impressed with what you said right before, Liz, that these are community projects, investments in the community. And to be honest, I was reviewing our funds. I was reviewing funds that are with the Community Foundation of Orange and Sullivan, which we are in the process of merging with, something I'm very excited and thrilled about. And, truth be told, we do not have any component funds that speak directly to the crisis that's going on in our community. So I will put out there that in addition to saying that this is an important initiative and we fully support the work that you're doing, any of the other not-for-profits that are in this space or any other funders or donors that are on this Zoom, I'd welcome the opportunity to speak to you and potentially come up with some other creative funding streams that really will help the greater good here. It's important. I grew up in Rockland County. I'm a proud graduate of Suffern High School. We are, right next to the East Ramapo community. I've seen what's happened there, and I would welcome the opportunity to work with everyone here to find other means of building charitable capital and affecting change in our communities. And I put my information in the chat, of course.
We appreciate it, Julie. So it's great to see you again. We are going to questions and answers. And if anyone have questions, please feel free. Any comments, anything your heart is moving you to express now, feel free.
I was going to write this in the chat, but I really want to thank you. This was an incredibly informative and powerful presentation. I feel like you gave us all a much better understanding of your work and your constellation of partners, which is really amazing. And it's all very impressive. I think for us, we'll probably follow up with you with some specific questions, but it's really uplifting to hear about the work. It will generate more questions from us, and we'll probably follow up with some specifics. But anyway, I just wanted to thank you. It was incredibly well organized and very powerful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I think it's humbling to hear that because we do the work not thinking of what other people will think or how other people see it. So just being able to put our work on paper and then talk about it, it's like, wow, we have done so much, and we kind of not take it for granted, but we kind of forget all the work that we have done and all the things that we have accomplished and how many lives we have impacted. So it means a lot to hear this, because we usually just continue with the work because it's just so much going on every day that we forget to think about this. So thank you. I appreciate it.
And I guess actually one question I can ask you now is I am curious about your grassroots fundraising strategies and what that means.
Well, so since we began, that was our first fundraising, was really reaching out to community members that we knew were sympathetic and in solidarity. And so we've just always been building our base of supporters and trying to steward them along, and where we identify that there's room for growth and encouraging people to increase their gifts, we do what we can there. And of course, we've developed over the years a set of events that we are trying to make annual. And so we have our walkathon coming up in a few weeks. We had a major donor appreciation event last December, but this December we're doing a concert with a well-known composer, which maybe we can add a major donor piece as a separate part of that event. But we've had sustainer drives. We need to do another sustainer drive, but thankfully we do have some steady folks who give monthly, and we send out appeals. We've stuck to email appeals, and we're always doing what we can to try to identify prospects and trying to encourage people to open their Rolodexes and black books as best we can. Have I left out anything key, folks?
I think just our local group, and these things don't bring a lot of money per se. Like, for example, the car wash, I think it was $900 for the whole day, but that is something for us that and much needed. We have our partners and community organizers who have groups, and the groups have connection with other people, and those people connect with us. Thankfully, recently, Proyecto Faro's one of the offices is located. They engage with a group.
Are you all there? Oh, it's Nelsie. I'm not positive, but maybe Nelsie was talking about just our recent fundraiser where Indivisible and Stony Point Center and the Penguin Theater did a fundraiser for us at the Penguin Theater. They provided tickets at cost, and we were able to sell them at a higher price. So we're grateful for this kind of support. And when people send out our appeals, Mark, always so lovely, and sends out our appeals to the Rockland Coalition to End the New Jim Crow's membership. So things like that. And I see Amy's hand.
Yeah, well, two things. One is that I did put the link for our walkathon, which is very robust participation in terms of on a scale of participatory fundraising. So the idea of the walkathon is that everybody pitches in, asks their contacts to support. The idea is to demystify fundraising, that we can all be part of that process, and that a little bit adds up. The other thing I just wanted to say is one thing that's particular about how Proyecto Faro thinks about our fundraising, and this has been all the way since our grassroots fundraising was really catapulted into a pretty hyperdrive level during the pandemic. And that's because everybody was so worried about particularly vulnerable populations, including undocumented and other vulnerable immigrant populations. So when we started doing this immigrant community-led food mutual aid effort, including door-to-door distribution, and it was extremely extensive, it just popped up very quickly. I mean, it didn't just pop up. Lots of people worked really hard on it, but it seemed to just pop up, and people were so glad to see that work. And so we had a lot of response for donations, and we were very careful to track it and make sure that all the money was going to the food really directly. And that was before we had a status with the food bank. So I'll just say that in working with those people that offered those gifts, we also offered them the opportunity to help and the opportunity to be in solidarity. And that, I think, what for me distinguishes the idea of grassroots fundraising is that you're merging the fundraising is part of a larger process of building solidarity. It's not just transactional, like you're a donor, you're over here in this category, but it just what Mark was saying, we're all in this together. And when our donors, by being donors, they become part of our community of solidarity. And we also really work to try to extend opportunities for different types of relationship building as well.
Terrific. Thank you, Amy, for those additions.
Which means that directly, even funders are able to come in, walk into our space, work with the community, work hand by hand with them, doing what needs to be done to serve someone else. So that's what it means to us.
Yeah. It's true, actually. Our largest individual donor has been a volunteer consistently, and that exactly, it's to try to break down the barriers and recognize everyone's offerings of many kinds.
I just want to say one more thing about the donor situation. Even though the people that we serve may not have funds to give to us, they are so grateful to us that they give their time. And they always mention how grateful they are, and they're always coming to volunteer. So it's not always the money per se, but also the connection that they make and wanting to give back because of how much we helped them when they were in a hard situation.
Yeah, there's no way to quantify the value of our volunteers' dedication. It's kind of unbelievable, really. Our immigrant leaders, volunteer leaders are just astounding and brave, especially right now. It's kind of incredible, the consistency with which they show up to do the food distribution and the free store and helping other immigrants with their applications. And many of them who don't have still give because they may not have much, but they want to take that step. We encourage folks, if they can make a gift of $5, beautiful, because we want for them to know that every bit really makes a difference and that there's no gift too small. There's no maximum or minimum to have great impact. And so it's to try to give folks a sense of agency about everything they bring to the table in whatever form.
And some of them don't have money, but they do have a business or something. And so when we have fundraisers, they also bring food and donate in whatever way they can. So that's really powerful to us as well.
And yeah, it's the food is a whole other level, and the way that it actually does bridge across communities and between allies and community members. So yeah, we hope you'll make it to some of our events because you will not only get to meet our incredible leaders, but you'll also eat beautifully. Other questions and other thoughts? You've all been amazing. It's been certainly a long session, but you can see Rockland has lots to talk about. And certainly we're available for follow-up. We're so grateful for all of you making the time today.
We just want to express our appreciation for all of you being here. We want to be able to share that although we live from paycheck to paycheck per se, just like many of our community members do, we trust that because of our allies and all of you, we're able to make the next meal for the immigrant community and for being able to make sure that everyone feels supported. Thank you, and we really appreciate your time.
Huge thanks to Gabriela for helping us organize today, and we'll certainly make this available if folks have people in your own networks that you think might be interested in learning about what's going on in Rockland. And we look forward to getting to know you better and to continue building together in the ways we so desperately need in this world. It feels like a little island of healing just to be among people who are committed in the ways that you all are.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you so much, Amy,
Thank you.
Elsie, Liz. Thank you. You all are incredible.
Have a wonderful day, folks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.